A very good morning. You're watching Newsline live on News First on MTV. It's good to have you with us here on a very gloomy Friday morning. But don't worry, we've got enough of material that we can discuss today that's sure to wake you up and give you that on-the-go information that you would need for today. Now, with me is Faraz Shaukat Ali, senior journalist. Good morning, Faraz.
Good morning, and how are you?
It's good to be doing the show with you. I've never done this show before with you, so I'm really excited about that. Let's start off with a look at the newspaper headlines as usual. And all the newspapers have splashed across their front page about the national government and the formation of the national government and the number of cabinet ministers, deputy ministers and state ministers that are going to be in this national government. Now, the Salon today has the outcome of the voting for the number of cabinet ministers for the national government. There were 143 votes for, 16 against and 63 abstentions. So with that majority votes, the number of cabinet ministers has been increased. I'll tell you in a little bit how much the number of cabinet ministers are there in this national government. Now, also regarding the national government, there is a cabinet swearing in today, and where ministers, deputy ministers and state ministers will be sworn in today at the presidential secretariat before President Maithripala Sirisena. The cabinet will be appointed and the relevant ministers will be sworn in at 12 noon today. The others will be sworn in at 3 p.m. So that is something to keep an eye out, the swearing-in ceremony that is happening today. We will find out who have been actually allocated certain positions, certain ministries. There's been a lot of speculation about which individual will be occupying certain ministries. So today all your doubts will be laid to rest. Now, I was indeed telling you about the national government and the composition of this national government. Now, the Daily Mirror says Parliament passes bigger cabinet, will include 48 cabinet ministers and 45 non-cabinet ministers, and this was the approved national government yesterday. Also making a splash on the front pages of the newspaper on the island, we have Sambandhan welcomes national government, frowns on jumbo cabinet. Now, there's been a lot of ministers, a lot of parliamentarians who have voiced their opposition about this jumbo cabinet. We'll be talking to Faraz in a little bit about this jumbo cabinet. But before that, also taking a look about R. Sambandhan and his appointment as the opposition leader in this new government. Sambandhan proposes 3 to 5 regions, and it goes on to say newly appointed opposition leader R. Sambandhan in his address to Parliament said Sri Lanka should have 3 to 5 regions with maximum power devolved to them, taking a good example from India as the giant neighbor to resolve the Tamil national question. Now, Faraz, let's talk a bit about these headlines, the headlines that have been making the front pages. Let's start off with the national government.
Indeed, the national government. Now,
the jumbo cabinet. Do you believe this jumbo cabinet is necessary for a small island nation like Sri Lanka?
We need to have a look first at this issue of national government. We must follow that. Without the national government, no cabinet. This national government, we need to bear in mind that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's party, the United National Party, actually have 106 with -1 for the Speaker's post. It's 105. And so he's had to rely on the largesse and the vision of President Sirisena to bolster the numbers. So President Sirisena has been ever so kind and sent across the troops 38 numbers to help Mr. Wickremesinghe achieve stable government.
Now, Mr. Wickremesinghe obviously says that there is a national government, that what we're seeing is a national government according to the 19th Amendment. But there have been contradictory views by Anurukumara Dissanayake, slated to be the chief opposition whip. There is also arguments raised by the UPFA, who's saying, look,
this is hardly,
but we're not in agreement with this national government.
This is hardly a national government. If that was the case, why didn't Mr. Wickremesinghe's party sign MOUs with the others? He only signed an MOU with the SNFP. It's a coalition government. They're labeling this the national government because they want to get around the limits imposed on the numbers of cabinet ministers in the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment is very specific. A government which is not national can have 30 and 40 members, 30 cabinet, 40 non-cabinet. When you term it and label it a national government, there are provisions, indeed there are provisions, for the majority party in Parliament, in this case the UNP, to form a government with the other parties. And it will be a matter of time before somebody somewhere in this country seeks an interpretation from the Supreme Court as to their definition of what national government means.
So what I'm getting from what you're saying is, yes, what we see is not a national government. However, are you also in agreement with the number of cabinet ministers that are to be appointed? Now, there's been a lot of hue and cry saying that this cabinet needs to be shrunk.
Well, exactly. Now, the point here, Mahina, is this. What's the flag called?
It's the national flag.
Okay. What's the song called?
The national anthem.
Right. So therefore, the word national denotes that it is inclusive. There is no exclusion here. In this national government as practiced in Sri Lanka, there is an exclusion. The TNA, the third part, are not part of this national government. So it is a coalition government. And the only reason, a layman's view, is that the reason they want a label is like clutching at a straw, because they want to be able to have what you have just said, this jumbo cabinet. Why does it matter that when you are in government in a solo form, as let's say the UNP managed the unimaginable and got 113 votes, they would then have been limited to 30 and 40. Now, because they couldn't make that, now they've got partners. So when partners come in, why should anything change? Why can't they just stick to 30 and 40? The problems in the country don't get bigger, therefore you need more troops to govern. Not at all. This was left in...
And a lot of political pundits have been saying, don't create new ministries. Try and merge ministries together so that we can reduce the number of public representatives that are put for these ministries, and also the fact that ministers shouldn't get a bigger amount in terms of salary in relation to parliamentarians, because parliamentarians were appointed by the people and therefore do more work for the people than the ministers.
You see, this business of having an enlarged cabinet, the root cause of this is the so-called conscience vote that allows our members of parliament to vote with a conscience. However, when the conscience vote is done in other democracies, when one member votes with the government, for example, they are not given a gift of a ministerial position and so on. So what they ought to have done, if these parliamentarians were committed at the time that they were drafting the 19th Amendment, they should have dropped this whole business.
But that has been the history of Sri Lankan politics.
Well, that's true. It has been.
These big governments, these big cabinets, this sort of giving ministries as per a favor to somebody who supported you.
Yes, and it helps to sustain. That's right. It helps to sustain corruption, and there are many things that they should have done, but they haven't done. And that's another reason why the JVP parliamentarian who came through the national list, Mr. Maya Dunne, the former Attorney General, said he was Auditor General said that he's quitting his seat in Parliament because he believes that this is not what. With all due respect to Mr. Maya Dunne and his high ideals, I think he wasted his time. They should have put somebody more committed to being an MP and to carrying out the vision of the voter, whoever who elected the JVP.
Yeah, and now Faraz, we have a guest in our studios today. That is Mr. Lassel De Silva, General Secretary, Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Good morning, Mr. Lassel. It's good to have you with us. Before getting to you about the inquiries that have been conducted over the recent past into certain individuals, Faraz, let me just touch on a small, actually a sub-headline on the island, which says GTF appreciates Sambandhan's appointment, praises President and Prime Minister. The GTF here is the Global Tamil Forum. So there is a lot of support, it seems, from the diaspora for the appointment of R. Sambandhan as the opposition leader. How do you view this, the GTF?
Well, the GTF is the nice side of the LTTE, and they represent the diaspora interest overseas. They'll be right, of course, to be happy that a party essentially from the north has come in as the lead to make up the official opposition. However, my point is this: that it doesn't really matter whether this is a Tamil party or that its majority membership is Tamil. That's not the issue. The issue here is that democracy is at work. The UNP, one big party, has entered into an agreement with the other party, the SLFP/UPFA. Now, that leaves who is the next force, and the TNA, whether you like it or not.
They are on paper and democratically
exactly.
the third force.
So
yes.
I don't think that we should on this issue that they are Tamil and so on. They just happen to be representative. The main vote base is from the members in the north.
Okay, now I'm going to Mr. Lassel De Silva, General Secretary of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, with another heading on the Daily Mirror, and that says statements recorded from Gotabe, Duminder and 7 others questioned for over 3.5 hours. How are the investigations? I know you can't really comment a lot about that, but how is the progress of these investigations?
Actually, we started this in March. The commission was appointed in March, then published an advertisement in late April. We started getting petitions somewhere in May, and within about 4 months already we have done quite a lot of investigations, and also we have had several public hearings. This is about the second session. So we are doing very well.
And Lassel, this is a commission of inquiry.
Yes.
What happens after these hearings that you have and so on? What happens then?
You know, we have a very open, transparent system. Everything is known to everybody. Whoever who comes here, we have set up police officers going into investigations.
Yeah.
And the commission again goes into all that openly.
But at the end, if there was a need to charge somebody, if there's some wrongdoing found out, then who charges?
The system is, once this process is done, we have representatives from the Attorney General's Department here with us, and they will openly decide what next.
Right. So it is not the Presidential Commission that's going to be charging if need be.
No, we have no such motives. Ours is an open, transparent and well-intended commission, right?
So it's not to throw mud at somebody.
No, not at all.
Because that's the allegations that are being leveled by a lot of political parties, saying that, this is some sort of a witch hunt that is going ahead.
Is it a witch hunt?
It is not the case. We have been appointed in terms of law. There is a law to appoint a presidential commission. We have been given powers on that basis, and we use powers very sparingly, very cautiously. There can be all types of allegations by people. We have a set of judicial officers sitting in the commission. I think they are very fair-minded. I don't have to speak about their integrity, all that.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we are doing the very best in the best possible way.
I was there briefly last morning. I must say that you've saved money, because you've used your own offices to set up this sort of court. We were a bit cramped, Lassel. It doesn't matter about that. You saved money, I suppose.
Yeah, actually, Sorry.
Sorry, what I wanted to say is, I thought that the cameras would be allowed in to record it.
A decision has been taken, definitely will be implemented within the near future.
Why not today? The others are not coming
It is not me who finally decides. It's the commission which will decide eventually how it should be done and things like that.
I think our cameraman was on overtime yesterday. Because he
I
waited
think
all
so.
day.
But Mr. Lassel, the thing is, although these inquiries are in a way conducted behind closed doors,
this was public.
But most of the time the going-ons in these inquiries, maybe this was public, but there have been several inquiries that have been held behind closed doors, but more or less it is leaked out to the press. The press finds its way through. So why not really allow the press in and,
No, we have allowed
make
the
it
press.
more transparent.
The first meeting was held in one of the committee rooms, like what you said. Actually, we had to change. We had to go into our own premises because having sessions, having public hearings in the committee rooms, it costs about 50,000-60,000 rupees a day. So ours being a country where we can't afford all that, the commission ultimately decided that we should be cost effective, very thrifty, and therefore we had decided, did a little bit of modifications, and I think, like what you said, it is too cramped up, right? It's very inconvenient, but I think to do a good job of work, we have to go through hardships and give the benefits to the people in the long run.
Well, that's true. That's true, of course.
And also, Mr. Lassel, another question that comes to mind about these inquiries is that most of the time those who have had complaints lodged against them and who go in for these inquiries, they do come out and say that they have not been properly informed about the charges that have been leveled against them, and they're being questioned in an ad hoc way, and the proper charges are not clear
to them. For example, when I was there yesterday, exactly what Minus says happened yesterday when counsel for one of the targets of inquiry raised this very issue right at the outset, that they didn't know why they were here in terms of, is that possible? Your thriftiness, did it extend to you not giving them copies of the questions you want them to
I think
answer?
the question does not arise because everybody knows why they are coming there for. They have been specifically told the issue involved, and there is nothing done behind the back. Everything is transparent. Everybody knows what they have been asked for, and before they came here for the public hearing, they came before the police officers, the investigating team. They have told them basically what the investigations were and in relation to what. So I don't think there's any basis in what they say that they do not know. I mean, they are not small children after all.
Yeah. Mr. Lassel, I have to interrupt you here because we've got a news just in, and that is the seat that was left vacant by Mr. Mayadune, who made it into Parliament through the JVP national list. Now, his seat, which was left vacant after he resigned from Parliament yesterday, after delivering his welcome and his farewell speech both at the same time, has been now filled by Bimala Ratnayaka of the JVP. So the JVP has named Bimala Ratnayaka to fill in the seat that was left vacant following the resignation of Mr. Mayadune from Parliament. As you want to add something into that?
Well, that's good news. Personally, I was rather hoping that the English-speaking, St. Thomas's educated, Krishmal Varnasuriya would have made it. But another time, perhaps, Krishmal. But back again to you, Lassel. Lassel, with all these, presidential inquiry, good governance is now in, and my question is, what are the chances of this Dasa Raja Dharma being met?
This government, I believe, from day one, during the campaign, when the presidential election campaign was on, the president specifically stated that he will follow the teachings of the Buddha, and he said he will respect all the other religions, and all that will be based on principles of good governance. Actually, the Lord Buddha is the first person who taught us, in the sense who preached good governance, right? He said, look at people with empathy, right? Treat your citizens like your children, right? And you know, King Dharmasoka, there's an inscription on that basis, say, treat your citizens, treat your people, treat the people like your citizens, right? So this is what the president is trying to do, and this is what all about the Dasaraj Dharma, you know.
Be honest and maintain absolute integrity. That's one of the things of one of the principles of Dasaraj Dharma. Where does that fit in when the 19th Amendment says 30 and 40, and we now have a headline that says 48 and it's a jumbo cabinet for this tiny speck of a country?
Yeah, you know, I think I agree with you, because I would like to take you back. Say, last government, they had over 200 odd cabinet ministers, and there was the culture of impunity that existed.
Yes, I have a slight problem with this answer. The point is, whenever we ask these questions, people say, in the last government.
And that's a good point for us, because yesterday, speaking in Parliament, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe himself, in a response to Vimal Weerawansa, who brought up this issue about the opposition leader, said, or not opposition leader, but more specifically the Mattala airport and the storage of paddy there, he said, we're here not to talk about the past, we're here to talk about the future.
Yeah, this is what I was trying.
Unfortunately, in my view, the Prime Minister is engaging in a bit of political fraud, because we voted with the 19th Amendment in place.
Yeah.
Now this thing in the Dasaraj Dharma, it says you must maintain absolute integrity. Where is the integrity when you've suddenly now come in conveniently and you pass this thing? What was the figure? 146.
I know.
Yeah, 48 cabinet ministers and 45 non-cabinet ministers.
That's it. You know, the people were very clever this time. We have heard of stories in the past. There were governments with 5-6 majority, right? And then they came up with the kind of the need, like executive presidency. All that have been proved to be a headache for the country. Somewhat flawed, right? In a situation like that, the people have been very clever on this occasion. They have not given a majority to any single party, right? So naturally, they had to go and team up with the UPFA or SLFP. On that basis, we also must say that unfortunately, our politicians may not come forward to do anything for the country without portfolios. Let me be frank about it, right?
That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka appears to be rather myopic. The people tend to forget. Most people seem to have almost forgotten that there was this war, and that members of the same family used to travel in separate buses for fear that they'd get all blown up together, right? So this network has been part of this, at the forefront, if I may say so, of this call for change, the call for good governance. And one of our things was that people must vote well and vote wisely. And to a large extent, they have. We have almost a hung parliament, because the people want a good balance.
But the people this time have really, taken a look at the checks and balances. They've really looked at both sides. When actually voting this time, we saw that at the presidential election. I think more prominently at the presidential election than in the general election, because the preferential voting system always kind of, that sort of people's vote is most time questioned when it comes to preferential votes and the people who are elected to parliament. And we saw some really good people not making it to parliament, and instead people with a lot of charges being
brought into parliament.
But we've also seen people who've been defeated at the polls being imported into the parliament.
You can't stop that, because the constitution specifically provides 99A. It says the members who have been they are in the list, right?
Mr. Lasal, I'm really sorry, but I'm afraid we are running out of time. We also have to go in for a breaking news in a little while. So I'm really sorry to cut you short but very soon, again, on Newsline, we will have you and we could discuss this
Please,
length.
yes.
Mr. Lassel De Silva, General Secretary, Presidential Commission of Inquiry, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a
Mr.
lot.
Farah
Thank you.
Shawkatari, thank you for joining us. I believe you have a thought of the day. We could do that very quickly.
Indeed. I thought we'd talk about intelligence. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And thanks to Mr. Einstein.
Thank you very much, Faraz. And thank you very much for joining us on Newsline. Remember, it's the weekend, but let's not get absorbed